Welcome back to Illuminate, finding your gifts in the shadows. We're on day 3, and today, before we are going to enter into the cave, we're going to do a soul journey and light activation. As many of you know, there is always this council of light beings that are ready to support us on our journey, and they're made up of ascended masters, of angels, of light beings, of ancient souls, and animal medicine, and the keepers of the earth, as well as the galactic guides who are really devoted to uplifting the planet earth and making her a sustainable place where, through trusted cooperation and mutual respect for all species, she gets to thrive again. And you can liken it to the United Nations of the intergalactic field, where these council of light beings are available to us at all times to guide us and protect us. And many light workers, just like you, have incarnated here at this time in history with a double mission. And I have a fly in the room, which is interesting. So, this is real life. You can't make this stuff up. But, to grow individually as souls is the one part of why we all chose to be here at this pivotal time in our survival as a species. And the second part is to uplift the planet, because this is the home that we have chosen. Whether we've come from the golden planet or other planets, we chose to be on planet Earth here and to take responsibility for the work that we've come here to do. So if you feel like you're here for a reason and that you'd like to devote part of your life to uplifting the planet, then you're likely one of these light workers who have chosen to be here on Earth. And why I created Illuminate in the first place was to really give you a deeper understanding and a doorway to expand into what your purpose on Earth is and what your gifts are that only you have. There's only one of you on the planet, and you came in here with your unique gifts and capacities that nobody else has. So now we have Honeybee in the room, so I'm really lucky to have such beautiful energy coming in and out of this room as I give you this transmission today, to just remind us that life, when it's in harmony with the sacred geometric grid, when we're in harmony and working with nature, when we're not resisting our own true nature, this is where life gets to be exciting again. And let's face it, we're at a tipping point right now where the decisions and the choices that we're making and the changes that we're contributing to in this collective energy and vibration are creating an influence. And we want this influence to be uplifting. This is what the whole 5D reality is really about. And this is where, before we go into the dark, before we go into the cave today, I want you to really call upon the council of light beings and ask them to assist and guide you. Remember, they're here for you all the time, but until we ask, they're not going to give us the gifts, right, of receiving. So remember, you have to ask for support. And I know we're not very good as women in asking for support and asking for help. So I'm going to speak and guide you through a light activation, and take you on a soul journey where we're going to look at your soul contracts, and you're going to meet your council of light and your fellow companions on this beautiful journey back into illumination. So I suggest you stop the recording now and listen to the guided meditation. Make sure you're hydrated afterwards. Maybe go for a walk in nature when you're done, and just spend some time writing in the journal prompts that you will get in today's PDF of who came through. What was it like going back to the time of your conception. It's all in there. The prompts are written down in the PDF, and just look at whatever information comes through. Don't censor it, just write it down. It might not make any sense to you now, but it will make sense to you further along your journey. Remember that God doesn't qualify doesn't call in the qualified, he qualifies the called. And you're being called, you've answered the call. And before we go into the cave, pause this recording and listen to the light activation and meet your soul tribe. And then come back in to this lesson. All right, excellent. So by now you have listened to the guided soul light activation. You've met your soul bodies that are here to support you. You've received insight from your ancestors on this journey back along your timeline. And now you're ready. You're ready to, as Joseph Campbell says, enter the cave. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. And this is the same with any places where we are challenged, where we are in the deep dark depths of what we feel like is the dark night of the soul, or in the shadows. This is where the gifts of who you are here to be lie. And remember now, we're leaving the ordinary world. You have acknowledged the call and you're stepping through the gates of transformation. And after the transformation, they're going to close behind you. And remember too, that healing and raising our frequency doesn't happen in the transformation. It happens in the daily 1-degree shifts that we make every single day in our practice, in our rituality. So this is your long dark night of the soul. And remember that you cannot go back the way you came. You must take the way that is been written for you, right? Sometimes it looks like the long way around. If you think about an ascent where you're standing down in the valley and you're looking up to the top of the mountain that you are wanting to reach, the destination isn't important. It's the journey along the way. And you don't know what you're going to encounter along the way. You know, you've got to go down into valleys. You're going to encounter rocks. You might encounter snakes. You might stumble and fall. But every time you make an ascent, every time you move closer to where you're going, to your North Star, using your inner pilot light, your inner compass, your intuition, your true nature to guide you, and calling in your counsel, your soul guides, your ancestral helping spirits, you know that you're going to reach there. And this is where the depth of the lessons, your PhD, is in your life experience. So at this point, it's quite common for a guide to appear, just like we did in the journeying work today, where you met your soul counsel and you activated this light body within you, that you are remembering that they've always been there for you. Maybe for you it was Archangel Michael or Chiron or Metatron. Maybe it was an animal guide like a panther or a cheetah that has the qualities of speed. And maybe it was horse that knows the safety of the herd, and when that fight-flight mechanism is peaked, when to run and when to stop and assess the situation. Maybe you got Merlin or Gandalf or Yoda. Maybe you got a lone wolf that was howling at you to follow. Maybe you got, like I often get, my dark horse that is on the wall behind me. You can't see it now. But whoever it was, it could be a teacher, a doctor, a complete stranger. It could even be a fictional character or a cartoon. And as I said, maybe it was an animal guide or even a child. Maybe it was an ancestral helping spirit. Whatever it is for you is exactly what you have been asking for. So just know that although your mentor cannot show you the way, because the way is your own way, right? You have to be the leader, the authority of your own life. Nobody can give you the answers except you, but your guides and your mentors are there to illuminate, to help shine a light ahead of you, for you to be able to see the next step so that you don't stumble and fall. And sometimes we still do, because there's something down there that we need to access that, when we're looking ahead, we'd often miss the presence of the gifts that are around us all the time, which is why the trust process that I use is so powerful in keeping you in this place of presence where you can be peaceful, to be able to access and illuminate the things that you're asking for in regard to a solution for your problems or your challenges that you're going to. And, you know, when I was in Vanuatu, it's a little island chain in the South Pacific. I was there with my sister a couple of years ago. I heard about this Millennium Cave, and we really wanted to go and see it because we were told it's an amazing experience, although it's not for the faint-hearted. So we signed up, and early one morning we headed up a really bumpy dirt track into the depths and the thickness of the jungle, where we could hear the cicadas singing and we could smell that damp mud underneath our feet. And it had been raining the day before, so when we left, the Land Rover that was taking us up there actually sank into the mud. So we had to slosh our way through paddocks and across bamboo bridges and past horses and goats and into the village where our guides were waiting to take us to Vanuatu. And we were shown a very sort of rough, crude map of what this great trek was going to look like. And on the map, you know, it's one-dimensional. It didn't look too bad. So after about an hour and a half of us really bundu bashing and trekking through more mud and having insects bite us and the heat burning down on us, we stopped to have our faces painted to guard us against the spirits of the cave. And then we headed down into the rickety bamboo ladders across slippery rocks that were, while we were kind of literally clinging at some points, I was like literally clinging on to these ropes for dear life as we went into the mouth of this dark cave. And, you know, it wasn't well lit. And I had imagined wandering through a place where you know, it was open and lit and quite civilized. And instead it was a cave full of rocks that was waist high, full of water that was running through it, and in some places it ran pretty strong, and this cave was completely dark. And that's kind of where I called in the medicine of bat to echolocate and really get me to increase my other senses, my spidey senses, because I couldn't see very much. So I tell you the story because when you stumble, there is always a treasure, right? We stumble in, we didn't come into this world with a manual, and a lot of the trauma that we experienced in other lifetimes is so deeply suppressed but held in our genetic makeup, in our diamond blueprint. So we stumbled in, you know, we completely trusted the guides, that because they'd done this a million times, and we had to let go of the controls of thinking that we had any expectation of what we were going to encounter in this cave. And occasionally we'd stop and we'd shine our flashlights up, and there were hundreds of these bats hanging above our heads. And I love bat medicine because it's just such powerful medicine, and why I suppose a lot of people are afraid of bats and owls and nocturnal animals that are so at home in the dark, because they have really very sensitive other senses to find their way in the dark. So, you know, it was really amazing, but I was really trying hard not to slip and fall or twist my ankle or hurt myself. And that took quite a lot of energy to really try and be present with this beautiful experience, and not take myself out of the experience, out of the present moment, because I was afraid of the dark, afraid of keeping my physical body safe. So, you know, after about 30 minutes of this traipsing through the darkness of the cave in this water and not knowing what was in the water, I've never been so deeply appreciative to see the light again at the end of this tunnel. And it was pretty amazing. Amazing and scary and beautiful and brutal. and beautiful, which I love to say, because there were so many gifts in the contrast of this. And after lunch, we followed the creek, which rapidly became a very fast flowing river again. And when we climbed over and under and through these massive boulders, where we were literally scraping the skin off our hands and our shins and our knees, climbing up these boulders and over these boulders in the ascent, of where we knew we didn't know where we were going, but we were open to the adventure of knowing that we were going to be led to exactly what we needed to find. And at times we were plunged into the water to let the current carry us down instead of resisting and going upstream. We used nature as medicine to guide us and let the water flow and carry us through, down to the next load of boulders that were waiting for us to climb. And it was exhilarating. It was exhausting as well. And by the time I was finished, my whole body was like this tremoring, shaky mess, because I'd really exerted a lot of muscles that I didn't even know I had. So finally, we kind of climbed out of the water, and our guide pointed up and said, "That's where we're going." And it was literally a vertical cliff face, and I am no rock climber. I'm better in water than I am on climbing and ascending things like sheer rock faces. But with crude, very hand over footholds, with water running all over them and more mud, we started to use the bamboo ladders, which had huge gaps between each rung, to literally drag ourselves up this ascent. And it was here that I really stopped to look around at this magnificence of just the vastness and the hugeness of this valley that we were climbing out of, and how small and insignificant I seemed in the landscape of life that is so much bigger than me. And oh my gosh, what a privilege, what an honor to witness such incredible sights of nature like that so few people ever get to see, because it's hard work to get there. And it's just like I climbed out the rest of the way feeling like I'm invincible, that I did something even though I was afraid, and it was worth every step. It was worth every blister. It was worth every graze, every scratch on my body. And I could never have imagined that I was capable of something like that. I'd done treks through the mountains in Cape Town, but nothing like a sheer cliff like that. And there were times I can remember on other trips where I was literally going downhill, and I was petrified that I was going to just fall and tumble into the rocks below. And I was literally grabbing onto bits of grass and roots of trees and getting scratched out by the protea bushes and the rocks around there. So I came out of that experience, just like many others that you can probably think of, a changed person, a stronger person, more resilient, more trusting of my own abilities and capacities. And I finally knew what Joseph Campbell meant. But I also, he says that I don't believe that people are so much looking for the meaning of life as much as they're looking for the experience of being alive. And I would like to add that what I've learned from animals is that it's not so much about making sense of it all, but rather how can I be present? How can I be totally present with what is in the moment? So whether that's the vertical cliff that you're going up in your life, or the metaphorical valley that you have to find your way down to get to water and sanctuary and safety before the dark. There's something about discovering our ability to be fully engaged in how to live deeply happy into our aliveness, and to trust our intuition, to follow our own truth, and to express what motivates and moves us. That's what I really care about. That's what I want to illuminate on this journey with you over the next couple of days. So call in your personal allies and your helpers to support you as you enter into this cave of your deepest fears. This is why I wanted you to do the soul contract journey and meet your light beings that are there to guide you and activate the light in you before you enter into the cave. So this is the time now that you're familiar with it, that you're going to call your guides and your mentors, those who inspire you and motivate you and are always there in silent protection for you. These are divine helpers that come in all forms, like we've discussed earlier on in today's session. They could be your animal spirits, the elementals such as fairies and sprites. They can be goddesses, they could be archangels, angelic helpers or spirit guides, fictional characters. You know, you have got to trust that, and also this is your own intuition. This is your own inner wise woman, your medicine guide that came in with you into this incarnation of the physical form to experience life. She remembers. So access her as well and call on her, call on your helping spirits and your guides to help you to stay with this process even when it gets uncomfortable or it feels quite painful. You know, I hurt physically and emotionally for days after I went to that millennial cave, but it was so worth it because it woke up this primal part of me, this wild woman inside of me that knows how to survive in the wilderness, who knows how to brave the wilderness. And you know, one of my guides was a big panther. There's my kitty outside. Another one was Wonder Woman. You know, it could be Elektra, it could be Superwoman, it could be a Ninja Woman from any Marvel comic. So who is going to be your guide? And if you have done the journaling prompts from the first part of today's training, you probably have already named it because I gave you space there to name it. But which one of your guides is going to accompany you as you go into the cave? Another part of this is that a very powerful and symbolic way to prepare yourself before entering the cave is literally by the baptismal healing properties of water, by immersing yourself in water. And that could be an Epsom salt bath for you, or a shower, or just diving in a pool or a river, or going for a swim in the ocean or a lake. And it might just be simply, if you're lucky enough to have rain where you are or snow where you are, standing and receiving that. You know, I love that thing, that one saying that, may I receive love like the ground receives the snowflakes. And I love the imagery of that, of just opening your arms up and receiving from this beautiful, powerful elemental of water. So take some time to gather today the treasures that you're going to support you and take with you in your backpack as you go into the cave, into this time of great transition. And you could include bubbles or essential oils, or a blessing from a flower like a rose, or maybe you take some lavender in there with you in your backpack, or crystals or candles or incense or meditation music. Maybe you take some oracle cards with you. So just remember that you could use some of the precious moon water if you had collected some from the last full moon, and you could anoint yourself with that, or you could add it to your bath water, or drink a little bit of that with your tea, or perhaps wash your feet in rituality of really acknowledging that you're about to go on a great trek alone into the wilderness. And choose a time when you can be alone to do this. You know, it might be early in the morning before anybody else wakes up. It could be during your day when you're alone at home, or any other time of your day or night that's going to really be easy for you to really journey into this work and deepen into the depths of the cave. So call on your personal allies and helpers to support you. Remember that you're not alone on this journey, and remember that fear can be a great adversary for us on this journey to really go deep and find the gifts beyond the fear. So use the prompts from today, journal about it, enjoy the journey, and I will see you tomorrow for day 4. All right.